Guys, sorry for being a couple minutes late there. Got it. Okay. Sometimes there's three. That was just a single one. Hi, I'm Chris Sandeman. I'm back again for another live stream. So if you are joining me live, welcome. Now, you might be wondering, wait a second, that's not Chris. Chris doesn't wear glasses. See? It's me, right? But this will make me look even smarter. Yep. Now, you can really believe me. Glasses, right? There's actually no lenses in. Just kidding. There are lenses in it. And with that, it just started to rain a little bit. Hey, Alexa. Welcome, Alexa, to Coney Island. Oh yeah, it is. It's patriotic to my favorite wings restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina, called Home Team. I'm actually a little concerned wearing the hat sometimes because I think people get the wrong idea and think that I'm a politically conservative person because I'm wearing a hat with a flag-ish on it. And I'm not. I just like wings, but nothing against people that are conservative. Anyway, this is a non-political live stream today. Alexa, glad that you're here. Thank you for coming. And hi, Rebecca Stewart. There's your wave back. Thanks for joining. See, you had noticed this time. You knew when it was coming, so you could be there. And Hale saying hi. What's up, Hale? Down in South Carolina, where I was just referring to Home Team. In fact, we hung out at Home Team. Michaela, thanks for checking in, and welcome back to Long Island. Folly Dude, what's going on, bro? We are on what is no longer actually an island, Coney Island. It was an island for a long time. It was a kind of a barrier island, if you will. And a barrier island off the coast of Long Island, which is not a barrier island. It's a proper, firm, piece of land that's going to stay. Whereas Coney Island, along with a bunch of the other islands around here, actually for the longest time, they'd kind of shift a little bit where they were, depending upon storms and tides and sand, kind of changing the size of those islands as they kind of went. But we're going to talk more about that as we get going. Just letting people kind of join in. Michelle, hi Mom, thanks for joining, and welcome back to New York, because we are in New York, if not in proper New York City, so to say. We are still in the borough of Brooklyn, which Coney Island actually became part of thank you, my friend, thank you, I appreciate that, became part of in the early 1900s, which would help Coney Island out a lot, actually, because before that it had been run by pretty disreputable, crook-like people. Hey Jim, welcome back, brother. You guys might see a little bit of water coming down around me. It's just a small dusting. There's no forecast for rain right now. So, but it could mean that some people decide to spend less time out, which is also okay. There's a bunch of people out. I've done a little bit of strolling around. I did notice that my phone didn't love some of the connection stuff down by the boardwalk, but if I get hit by bad connectivity and some lag, then I'm just gonna head back towards Surf Avenue. And Surf Avenue, which is right over here, dun 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 dun, at this intersection here, this is Surf Avenue, and then if I turn my camera back again the other direction, we can see down to the boardwalk, which is just starting at the end of this street. And back in the day, when Coney Island is first becoming this amusement destination, before you had these crazy things like roller coasters, this whole space between Surf Avenue and behind me and the boardwalk in front of me, where actually pre-boardwalk, just the beach was. This space in between the two wouldn't have roads, it would have just had amusements. And those amusements that were set up weren't like amusement park amusements the way that we think of. They were independent owners. It wasn't like Disney versus Six Flags or something like that. You just have like Joe Schmo would own a Hall of Mirrors or a House of Mirrors, and you'd enter into the House of Mirrors and you'd pay Joe Schmo. But the concept of a real amusement park would actually start here in Coney Island, when eventually they will, in one of the 3 big parks that will go up here, they'll set up a wall around the park. And the concept wasn't really to like close off people from escaping from the park and going to one of the competitive parks. It was just to keep vagrants out. Not vagrants, but pickpockets, scam artists, prostitutes as well. And then that's it. That kind of pushes amusement parks in that direction. But look, I want to show you guys a bunch today, and I've learned a ton in the last bit of time. So I want to start showing you guys. But first and foremost, we should walk over here and talk about one of the prime attractions of Coney Island. Actually, you can see behind me there's another prime attraction, which was in the distance. Well, I might as well turn around and show you guys properly. You can see in the distance up here the parachute ride, the parachute drop. It's actually one of the most famous rides of Coney Island, but it no longer operates. And arguably, you could say it's, after the Cyclone and the Wonder Wheel, it's probably the next most famous thing for us to see. Although, like I said, no longer in operation. But of rides, it's the most famous thing to see, let's say, because there's something else over here where I want to start up on Surf Avenue, which is arguably more famous than any other ride. Perhaps the most famous restaurant in America in some ways, because it's been here since 1916. And and it's never moved. It's still in the exact same location that it was back in 1916, when a German immigrant by the name of Handwerker. So I'm going to move away from this lady who's kind of like talking at me. She's a little bit nutty. And our boy, Nathan Handwerker, go figure, used to actually work at a shop around the corner owned by a gentleman by the name of Charles Feldman. And Charles Feldman himself was the inventor of what we would commonly know as the hot dog today. It was, back in the late 1880s, and Charles Feldman, who was actually himself a German immigrant, a butcher and a pie maker, found that his clients who were heading out to Brighton Beach and Coney Island were asking for and desperate themselves for a sandwich. And the problem was, for good old Charles Feldman, that his carts that he had for his pies, his savory pies, they didn't fit sandwiches inside of them. So he said, you know what? I'm going to try to make a smaller sandwich that will fit inside of my carts that I have. And what did he come up with? He said, I'm going to take a sausage, I'm going to take a bread roll, I'm going to heat up the bread roll. This is a big innovation. And I'm going to cut the bread roll halfway in half, and I'm going to put the sausage in the bread roll. And those fit in my carts. And boom, the hot dog was born. Now, whether it was called the hot dog right away or picked up that name because Feldman's big rival, a guy by the name of McCain, hold on a second, first name of McCain, John McCain, go figure. But not we're talking the 1800s, guys. We're not talking about the old senator from Arizona here. It was McCain with a K. And McCain was the local land commissioner. Highly corrupt, taking money from everybody, left, right, and center. You couldn't get a permit to be able to put your amusement on the space between Surf Avenue and where the water started, this kind of no man's land, this 1,000 feet of where the amusements would spring up. he couldn't do it without McCain kind of giving you the green light, and he'd green light anything that as long as he got a payout for it. So McCain then starts to see Feltman's success making hot dogs as a real issue. So they have a bit of a tussle, and all of these little hot dog carts, as we know them today, have a tax put on top of them, and nonetheless, despite all of that, Feltman still prevails. So in 1910, he passes away, and just 6 years later, one of his apprentices, Nathan Handwerker, also a German gent, who would sleep on the floor on the weekends of one of Feltman's restaurants, so he could be up in the morning first thing and keep working and the rest of it. Nathan says enough of working for someone else. Feltman had just left $1 million to his family, which would have been $25 million in today's money when he passes. Nathan's going to go into business for himself. And of course, this is the most famous hot dog of all time. What was Nathan's big innovation? How did Nathan end up managing to draw the crowds? When I talk about crowds, let's give a little feeling of crowds. Can I see crowds in this picture? Well, we're not going to see tons of crowds in this particular picture. But it does tell us about the innovation a little bit that we're experiencing here. And that innovation was, that innovation is that number there, 5 cents. Now, Feltman had come out in the market with a 10-cent hot dog. That's what the price for a hot dog was back then. But Nathan said, no, I'm going to do my hot dogs for 5 cents. There was a little bit lasting reputation because that guy, McCain, when he was fighting against Feltman and trying to put him out of business, he told everyone, he started the rumor that the reason why Feltman was making these dog sandwiches, these hot dog sandwiches, because he was actually using dog meat in the sandwich themselves, right? Now that of course was BS, and that was part of their fight. But when Nathan goes to a 5-cent hot dog, of course, people are wondering, maybe there is some truth to that dog meat story. A little clam bar over here too. But of course there wasn't. And although at the beginning people would avoid the 5-center, with the immigrants pouring into what had once been in the mid 1800s a paradise for the wealthier class that would be brought here by carriage, right, or steamship, suddenly the 5-cent hot dog is really appealing to the new wave of immigrants who start coming by the late 1800s. And what really changes everything, of course, is that we get new transportation modes. And when they build elevated subways and the actual subway line over from Manhattan, it makes Coney Island a daytime destination where you could escape for just, for the day. It was like a day trip vacation. And you'd feel really like you're out of the city, which was increasingly overcrowded as New York and Brooklyn's population increases literally by the millions within 40 years or so. So public transportation makes this whole area increasingly accessible, and then will lead us to having the crowds and crowds and crowds that we know and love. So let's cross over this direction and head over into some of the amusement spaces. There we go. Now there are a fair number of folks out today, despite the slightly cloudy weather, and there's one place that we're not going to go into, so to say, which is Luna Park itself, one of the 3 big parks that will have been built here. Now, Luna Park actually replaces an old park that had burned down. And that original park was the Sea Lion Park. Sea Lion Park had all these great ideas. They had live sea lions. You would go on a ride and the sea lions would come and greet you. It creates, actually, it has the first roller coaster of all time is founded inside of that specific park, the old Sea Lion Park. And it was the Flip-Flop Railroad. And the Flip-Flop Railroad was, although there were a couple of fatalities involved in it, it would spin at one time and turn you upside down. And that was the first time a roller coaster had ever done that. Now, when the Sea Lion Park eventually burns down and Luna Park will come and replace it, it's these two guys who get the idea to buy up the 22 acres of space for the one park that is still remaining of the big competitive parks. And those three parks, by the way, just to be clear, the parks that were the kind of the anchor parks of Coney Island were Dreamland Park, was Luna Park, of course, which is still here today and replaced, like I said, the Sea Lion Park, and then you had Steeplechase Park. Hey Lorraine, welcome. Thanks for saying hi over on YouTube. It's like I was saying, Steeplechase Park. Now, Steeplechase Park also burns down. Steeplechase Park was famous for having a large ovular track that had metal horses on it. And rather than just watching people play, or watching people ride horses and watching real horses kind of like run around the track, something that you could also do at Coney Island, which had all sorts of entertainments and amusements, not just rides and food and the beach and changing rooms along the boardwalk for you to get out of your city duds and into your full body flannel swimming costumes before you'd head into the water. Alexa asked, do they sell fried Oreos? Yes, they do. Excellent question. Fried Oreos. And Zipples, which I think are those little fried dough balls. Oop, there. And here we are over now entering to the boardwalk. I'll give you guys a quick look over here to our right, and then we're actually going to turn around and walk back to the left. But it lets us see that we are, in fact, out here by the ocean. Now, over in this direction, where there's now the Cyclone baseball stadium, behind that, derelict and defunct parachute drop ride. Oh wow, Lorraine! I love the horse ride steeplechase. Yes, you remember that? Fantastic. Yeah, that was back in the day, and that is where, and it was down there right past that parachute drop there. Yep, great. Really glad you guys like to play your music loudly in public. That's always awesome for me. Right, steeplechase. Steeplechase didn't just have, and let me ask Lorraine, do you remember some of the other rides there at Steeplechase Park? Now, Steeplechase Park was built by a guy by the name of George Tillieu. And in addition to just that mechanical horse ride that was down there, he also had something called the Blowhole Theater. If you remember that, let me know in the comments. Apparently, the Blowhole Theater when you'd enter into it, there were holes throughout the space that when you would walk over them or near them, they would suddenly, spurt air. And that would mean ladies' hats would fly off, maybe their skirts would lift up a little bit in a sort of a Marilyn Monroe moment for a second. And right beyond the Blowhole Theater, there was the next kind of attraction, if you will, inside, attached to that, which was the laughter gallery. And the laughter gallery was where people who had already had their hats and clothing kind of displaced would go and watch other people having the same thing happen to them. And hence the laughter gallery, kind of like a Schadenfreude gallery, if you will. Additionally, at Steeplechase, they had the Barrel of Love, where you'd walk into, like a cylinder that was slowly spinning, and as you would walk through it, the spinning cylinder that you're going through, the floor would move below you, and you'd be knocked around, maybe into the kind of waiting arms of the fella who was there to catch you. And it's worth saying that in the second half or late 1800s, we're going through a sort of a Victorian morality moment, and people were coming out here to Coney Island to get a break from it all, to maybe leave some of their inhibitions behind, to accept a little of the bawdiness of the place. And that actually ties back into that guy McCain, who we were speaking about a little bit earlier on, and he was quoted as saying, "Houses of prostitution are a necessity on Coney Island, and I don't plan to interfere with the gambling at Brighton Beach or Sheepshead Bay. After all, this ain't no Sunday school." So remember, McCain is the land commissioner. He's in charge of what can be here and can't be here. He's the enemy of Nathan's inspiration, Charles Feltman, inventor of the hot dog. But the thing is that McCain's not just this land commissioner. He's also like the chief of police. Convenient for him. He also helps run the elections, which he notably fixes, stuffs the ballot boxes to help his friends get elected. It wasn't until Coney Island would become part of the borough of Brooklyn borough of Brooklyn by then? Very close timing, either part of the borough of Brooklyn or part of Brooklyn, the city, right before it was incorporated into larger New York City. But they track him down, and he ends up going to Sing Sing prison, which was a pretty famous institution in its own right. He dies 5 years into his stint there. Why did I just start talking about that guy? I don't remember. Okay, let's continue. Colleen writes, nice, a carousel. Lorraine says they had that in Rye Playland too, the blowholes, that is. Rye Playland, guys, we mentioned a little bit yesterday. That was, Rye Playland is where Tom Hanks in the movie Big has his interaction with Zoltar. Hey, Ross! Ross saying hi and checking in over on Facebook. Welcome, brother. Good to see you, and hope you and Nick are doing whoop whoop fantastico. So, Michelle writes as well, I was a champ running in the spinning barrel. Michelle, the barrel of love worked out for you. Okay, good stuff. Well, guys, as we're walking along this boardwalk right now, it's worth mentioning that it itself is a historic landmark. And the reason why the boardwalk ends up being historically landmarked, besides, of course, its incredible history and all the rest of it, is because by the 70s, the boardwalk is starting to fall into pretty bad shape and pretty bad disrepair. And as a means of trying to fix it, the businesses that were around here, they were replacing sections of the boardwalk with concrete or with fake plastic wood, and preservationists were concerned about the integrity of the boardwalk, and that it would maintain its originality. It was slowly being replaced to become something different, and hence it's also landmarked and now pretty well preserved. Although you can see that a lot of traffic on it, not just foot traffic but car traffic, kind of slows it down a little bit. Now, this building, which is a bathroom, does give us a sense, though, a little bit. Hi, Mila. Thanks for joining, Mila. Always good to see you back. Thank you. Welcome to Coney Island. Not actually an island. We are physically connected to the rest of Brooklyn now, but at one point it was an island. You know, Mila, that reminds me, I haven't actually talked about why is it called Coney Island to begin with. Well, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of ideas about why it might be called that. Could be partially named after a local Indian tribe, who are the Kohika. Pretty close, could have been those guys. It could have been named after kind of a bastardization of the name of one of Henry Hudson's sailing associates, one of his officers on his crew. When Henry Hudson sails through here in 1609, hey Nicky, I'm at the soccer, so we'll watch later. Yeah, no problem. Go team. I hope it's a great game, and I hope you have a lot of fun. So thanks for checking in. Enjoy. Yes. Let us know what the score is. You know, go if you happen to jump in, boom, score. Go back to the game. Jenny Jean, thanks for the Purple Heart. Always great to see that as well. Thank you. Thanks for being there. That's great. Okay. Gosh, I keep interrupting myself, and I've got so much that I want to talk about that I'm like almost forget where I was. Coleman. That's what we're talking about. Coleman dies actually in an incursion against natives, maybe a little dispute, misunderstanding, and so there's the idea that maybe it's Henry Hudson, you know, will refer to this place as Coleman Island. Coney Island feels like a reach to me. Feels like a reach. It looks a little bit like an island in Ireland, off the coast of Ireland. There's a question as to maybe that is where it gets its name, because it had a similar name as well. My favorite story about Coney Island has got to be the one about the rabbits, because the word for rabbit in Dutch, and the old word if you're English human, an English person, you might even know the word Coney as being an old word for a rabbit yourself. But Dutch, it's like knikje, something close to that. And sounds like Coney as well. Could have been that. It's my favorite of the stories. There were apparently lots and lots of rabbits on Coney Island, almost a plague of rabbits they talk about by the 1800s. But there are strong arguments that actually those rabbits were introduced after the white settlers show up, and it wasn't historically the case. So anyway, Coney Island. And Jenny, thanks for the Purple Heart over on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. Okay, so what brings the people out to Coney Island before you have the amusements, before you have the freaks, before you have the Wonder Wheel, which we're going to talk more about in a little bit. It was the beach, of course. And in fact, it's this beachhead that immigrants arriving into New York would see before they would see New York Harbor. There used to be a gigantic elephant. Think like Moulin Rouge movie with a giant elephant out front. And that giant elephant used to be, this guy's is not the original Nathan's, by the way. I see Michelle putting hot dogs in. The original Nathan's is the one that we were at a second ago. That was the original location, up on Surf Avenue. Because all of this space here where we are, between the beachhead and Surf Avenue, right, this wasn't very stable space for you to build in originally. And actually, when they finally put in the roads here connecting the beach to Surf Avenue, a lot of the amusements that had been set up here independently had to be torn down to be able to make way for that. So, yes, the beachhead. So actually, like I was saying, you know, you as an immigrant arriving into New York Harbor, you would have seen this giant elephant on the coast before you would have seen the Statue of Liberty, for instance. You're like, oh, that's crazy. We've come to the New World. It's a giant elephant. Now, I don't have a good picture of the elephant, but I do have a picture of early Luna Park. And it was one of the real inspirations of Luna Park, was that the founders of Luna Park, they invested a lot of their founding money into electricity. Alexa writes, I like the idea of the Liberty Elephant. Me too. I think it's pretty good. The Elephant of Liberty. You know, watering the way for the unwashed masses. Well, Luna Park, as you can see here in this picture, had a lot of light bulbs. In fact, 1.2 million of these little electric babies, making it one of the real attractions, you know, to come out and visit it, because there was all these kind of new fads. It was almost kind of like a World's Fair, a little bit to some extent. So you'd see that as well. You know, you could see that for miles away, because you didn't have a lot of competing skyline with bright lights. Jim asks, are there like grifters and shady types hanging out? Not right now. I think that's more of that's very much the history of Coney Island, though. And as we were saying before, it's the reason why they would build walls around some of the parks, you know, or they create parks around the amusements, so to say, or they wall the amusements into a park, was because of those shady types. But you know, like, knowing John McCain, the old land commissioner, it felt a little bit like he did not mind the shady types, that they were like part of the story. Hey, Anna Maria, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. So today we can actually just go right up to the beach, of course, and we can walk in the sand and enjoy that. But in the old days, before you know, when you couldn't really, it wasn't decent to like ride the subway in your bathing suit or whatnot, or quickly change in your car, because you didn't have that. You would have to go to one of the bathhouses and pay a fee to be able to use the changing room there, so that way you could then go out and hit the water. Oh, Anna Maria was in Romania. Amazing! I hope you had an incredible stay. If it was for work, I hope it was productive, and if it was vacation, then I really hope that you enjoyed it and you feel recharged and refreshed after that. So, in effect, because of the way that society worked a little bit, the beaches were pretty private. Or the changing houses would kind of block off sections of the beach. Hotels that were being, the Oriental Hotel. By the way, why the name Brighton Beach connected to Coney Island? Purely advertising. A group of investors who built the Brighton Beach Hotel named the area after Brighton in the United Kingdom, in the south coast of England on the English Channel, because they thought that people associated Brighton as a destination where you would go and take some air, fresh air in the ocean and the sea and all that. So they wanted that same sort of association, which makes a lot of sense. Now, Anne Maria writes, amazing beach. It reminds me of the one in Wildwood, New Jersey. I haven't been there, Anna Maria. I'm gonna have to go check that one out myself. Now, we're gonna end up going through Dino's amusement space and check out the Wonder Wheel and talk more about that. But I want to show you guys this other roller coaster here, and we're gonna wait and catch someone as they're actually going on it, because it's probably, I'd argue, the most famous roller coaster in the world. It is none other than the Coney Island Cyclone. So famous, in fact, that the local AAA baseball team is named after this roller coaster, the Coney Island Cyclones, who are playing today against the Hudson Valley. I think they're like a bird. I'm gonna check and let you know. Caro, greetings from Buenos Aires. Greetings back, Caro. Thanks for joining us over on Facebook. Caro writes, I've never been in New York, but I can't wait until this pandemic is over, to have one of your great tours there. Thanks for sharing. It's really wonderful. Thank you very much. Hey, Bar writes to us on YouTube. She asks, Chris, how tall is the cyclone? Let me pull up my cyclone facts and digits and see how that's going. And let me let you know. I don't understand. People who come up to you and ask to be part of your live stream, but are playing loud music, and they think that like somehow that's going to be okay. Oh, here we go. That first hill that cyclone just went up, which I'm going to find the height for you in just 1 second, Bar. I haven't forgotten about yet. That first hill where the cars are dragged up, those 3 cars are dragged up the first hill, that is the only time any power helps move the cars throughout the ride. After the first hill, after this first one up here, the rest of it is all just gravity and like kinetic energy. It's just the movement that it has. And then you go up and down, up and down. I think it's 8 total hills as you fly through. Good morning, Jill. Good morning, Jill. Welcome back to Brooklyn, New York. Welcome to Coney Island, home of the cyclone. You know one of the coolest things about the cyclone? You guys want to hear one of the coolest, most amazing things about it, which is not the height, which I'm still looking up for you. Hold on 1 second. But really neat. Once you've ridden the cyclone around, whilst you're in your seat, you do not have to exit the cyclone. You can opt to pay for another round. You can just keep on going. You can double up on the cyclone. That is amazing. Like, that is frigging amazing. I think that's really neat. Anne Maria writes, they have a similar one in Wildwood Maury's Piers Amusement Park. Another reason to go to Wildwood, New Jersey. You're a great advocate for New Jersey. You're an ambassador. In fact, Anne Maria, thank you for that. And Alexa writes, I think I'll watch from the ground. Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I really want to get on a ride with you guys, but I'm not so sure if the gimbal and phone and microphone, I don't know if the get up works so much for riding the amusement park rides. Well, let's walk around the corner. We're back on Surf Avenue here and West 10th Street, and we're gonna head around into Dino's amusement park and take a look at the Wonder Wheel. But wait, really quick, before I do that, let me just get that. Let me pull up my quick notes on the cyclone specifically and see if I have height on it. Yes, I do. Total track length is 2,640 feet. That's 800 meters for you Europeans. And the maximum height up there at the very top, boop, boop, boop. That maximum height right there is 85 feet, 26 meters, 8.5 stories. That would be an 8.5 story tall building right there. Maximum speed is 60 miles per hour, 97 kilometers per hour, and opened on June 26, 1927. It's gone through a long life, this particular roller coaster. It's needed some love later in its life, and unfortunately, there were a couple of instances where, unfortunately, people didn't make it off of let's say they did make it off of the coaster, but they didn't survive their coaster, so to say. 3 people have passed away. 1985, a 29-year-old man was killed when he stood up during the ride and he hit one of these cross beams. He hit his head on something, unfortunately. In 88, a 26-year-old man fell from the coaster. Unfortunately, he was a maintenance worker and was the only passenger riding, in the back seat during his lunch break. But apparently he did not use the safety bar, and he fell out of the car during the first descent over here. So not great for him either. And then finally, a 53-year-old man suffered, unfortunately, several crushed vertebrae in his neck in 2007, and then died due to complications. Yeah, I think I'm with Alexa on her thoughts here, saying that standing up is a lack of common sense, as is not using the safety bar. Can we blame the roller coaster for that? I don't know. I think there's something Darwinian about people that go on roller coasters and decide to stand up in the middle of it. Maybe the coaster is just helping weed out some of that. Amazingly, I have a buddy whose entire friend from college, who's Tim Jacoby, and his entire job is building roller coasters. He's based out of Italy at an Italian roller coaster building firm, and he gets projects and set up to go all different sorts of places. So, which is pretty neat. So here we are, actually, right outside of our friends at Luna Park, and it used to be that you could go right in here and walk around and just pay for the rides as you went. Now you have to buy a pass to be able to ride, and it's $55. So we can't get into that direct part of it, but we can go into Dino's, which is going to be great, and that's going to be fine for us as well. Now, before, when we were talking about Steeplechase, we didn't actually talk about one specific ride that was also in there. When Lorraine was telling us about the Barrel of Love and the Blowhole and all of that, we didn't talk about probably the most famous ride at Steeplechase after the horse ride, which was none other than A Trip to the Moon, which was a cyclorama that took you around through a laid out, track. You were kind of in a car, like a little passenger car, and it wasn't fast. It was slow, but it was the ride was populated by moon men and moon women and moon giants. They actually used a combination of little people, is midgets an okay word? I don't know, midgets, dwarfish people, as well as, full-sized humans, to give the perception that you had giants and, moon men, moon women, and all the rest of it. And when you would exit the car, eventually they would give you moon rocks, which was green cheese, actually, as a souvenir. Now, the guys that developed that specific ride for George Tilhue, the Steeplechase amusement park owner, they would then, those two guys, their names were Frederick Thompson and Skip Dundee, they were disgruntled. They were angry at their old boss Tilhue. And they're the ones that would buy up these 22 acres that we see in front of us, and they would buy it up from the burned down Sea Lion Park. And they would build Luna Park here with all those famous lights and the rest of it. So, a couple of quick questions. Ross writes, can you get to the NYC Subway to Coney Island? And if so, how far is it from Manhattan? Yes, you absolutely can. And when that subway comes into existence, it only cost a nickel. So there was this kind of theme, a nickel to get out to Coney Island, a nickel for a Nathan's hot dog, and that all happens in the beginning of the 1900s. And really, it increases the accessibility of Coney Island to no end for people. And it takes today, depending upon where you're coming from, of course, because it's a big area, it would take you anywhere from 40 minutes to, let's say, maybe a maximum of 2 hours to get a subway ride from Manhattan out here, or from Queens, or even from Brooklyn. Guys, definitely smoking Kind of annoyance. Lots of smells in the air. I'm a little hungry. Haven't yet had a bite to eat, and you've got tons of food. You've got your carnival games and things like that. Hello. Hello. Lorraine said the cyclone is younger than me. Yeah, but not the Wonder Wheel though. The Wonder Wheel has been here for a very, very long time. It's been here for over 100 years. And it actually has a perfect track record with over 40 million people having gone on it. Sorry about the noise level here, guys. I'm gonna try to get by this, it's quite loud. A little bumper cars action here. Now the great thing about Dino's amusement park area is that you can actually still, as you see, walk around for free. And you buy tickets from one of these ticket booths, although I think this one maybe is closed right now, or is there somebody in this one? No, this one looks closed, but they're all over the place. And you pay for a certain number of credits, right? And then on this card, you can then go on all of the rides. So Ross writes, reminds me of Blackpool and Brighton, which I think you mentioned earlier, Chris. Yeah, exactly. Brighton is what they named the adjoining beach here on Coney Island. The Brighton Beach was part of a marketing gimmick to make sure people would, associate coming out here with that destination, whereas Blackpool is actually probably a more accurate association because it's cheap and cheerful for the most part, just like Blackpool would be. Alexa says, yes, it's supposed to be loud. Of course it is, yes. Michelle says, the woven wicker seats on the old subways left marks on your legs on the way to Coney Island in the 1950s. Michelle, thanks for sharing that memory from taking a subway out here in the 1950s. I appreciate that. And Anna Maria asks me if we can sing under the boardwalk. Well, unfortunately, we can't get under this boardwalk because it's like flat on the beach. Although there is a pier that goes out, and we could go and sing, there. I don't really know the song. I pulled up the lyrics. Oh, when the sun beats down and burns the tire up on the roof, and your shoes get so hot, you wish your tired feet were fireproof. I don't know it. Under the boardwalk, down by the sea. That's the refrain already. Listen, I'm gonna come back to you, Anna Maria. I'm gonna learn my my Under the Boardwalk lyrics and get to you. We got Stop the Zombies over here. And, oh wait, we've got the Wonder Wheel. Well, this is a great place for us to be able to talk about it because we're in a good spot. And then maybe I'm going to talk about, after that, we'll talk about Dreamland, and we'll see how we're doing for time. This is definitely a place that I want to come back to again and do another good live stream for you guys. Oh gosh, I didn't know that, Jim. The Drifters were from South Carolina. Well, all the more reason for me to learn that song properly. Ross, yes, UK seaside towns. Well, I do work in tourism, so one hopes you know a bit of it. Well, it's Under the Boardwalk in Myrtle Beach, Jim writes. Thanks, Jim. Now, guys, as you notice here, there are 3 different colored cars. You might not be able to because it's backlit, but there are 3 different color cars here. There's blue, there's red, and there's white. And the white cars are the ones at the far end that are not moving, right? They are affixed to this Ferris wheel or this Wonder Wheel. Hey Eric, welcome from Hawaii. Thanks for joining, brother. Welcome to Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York. Now, the Wonder Wheel, which we're looking at here, is a special type of Ferris wheel. They call it an eccentric Ferris wheel. And it is by all means and absolutely the star of Dino's Wonder Wheel Amusement Park, as this is called. Like other eccentric Ferris wheels, as you can see, some of the cars do move and some of them don't move. I would recommend always getting in one of the moving cars because look how much fun that is for that to be moving back and forth around. Now, this was built in 1920, so it is over 100 years old now, and was one of several Ferris wheels at Coney Island at the time. Designed by Charles Herman, and was operated by Herman J. Garms for 6 decades, 60 years. And even with the economic decline that we saw here in Coney Island, the Wonder Wheel always remained a popular attraction. And by 1989, it was officially designated a New York City landmark. So it's going to be here for a long time to stay. Now, it wasn't the first Ferris wheel in the area. The first one was over at Steeplechase Park, which, as we know, burned down. That was back in 1894 that first Ferris wheel to Coney Island came. I mean, guys, Ferris wheels have been around for a while, and in fact, we can probably trace their inception or concept back to the 1600s in Russia, believe it or not. But this sort of eccentric Ferris wheel, it's pretty special. So, and on top of that, it's never ever had an accident. It's always been able to successfully operate under its own power, with one notable exception, which was on July 13th, 1977. Now, if anyone out there, especially you New Yorkers, can tell me if you remember what happened on July 13th, 1977, you get a special high five wave from me on this video. So give it a thought, give it a think, but it was on that day, on July 13th, 1977, that the Wonder Wheel was not able to operate for a brief period of time. And I'll tell you that story if you guess. I'll tell you it anyway, but we'll go from there. Okay, Wonder Wheel, love you, fantastic. Gonna probably go on a Wonder Wheel journey after I've let you guys go for the day. So Anna Maria writes, sorry about giving you a little bit of time there, Anna Maria. Once a friend wrote this to me, life's like a Ferris wheel. Oh, I like that. Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. Just don't forget to enjoy the ride. I like it. That's a good one. It's really good. Alexa writes on YouTube, my impressions of these attractions is that they are a mix of old ideas and concepts, but sort of modernized as well. Designed a long time ago, but kept alive by a bit of modernization. It's absolutely the case. I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, that's always been kind of part of the story, if you will. Let's see if we can go through here. That's always been kind of the story of the amusements here at Coney Island. They're supposed to amuse and intrigue and attract you. And Dreamland, which is a real shame that it's not here anymore, it also burned down. And I'll talk a little bit about why in just a second. But Dreamland was the third of the big amusement parks. Luna, Dreamland, and Steeplechase. Steeplechase, actually, as we learned, kind of created enough sour grapes for the founders of Luna that they went and they started their own amusement park. Well, let's do a quick circle. But Dreamland, created by William Reynolds, had a really different sort of idea. He wanted it to be incredibly experiential and not just amusing. So it was like he was trying to just had a different strategy. He wanted to show you something different. So his like rides, but think more like the cycloramas, the like the spooky house that you would walk through, but it wasn't a spooky house. It would be Noah's Ark, and you'd be going through kind of the Noah's Ark experience with animals inside of the space, and like a diorama, but a full-size, life-size diorama, if you will. He created Hell's Gate in Dreamland, which would give you the feeling of going to hell itself. He builds, with the help of a St. Louis guy, so shout out to anyone who's fans of St. Louis Cardinals, specifically Ross and Nyc. A St. Louis gentleman by the name of Samuel Gumpers is hired and brought in to help design a very special attraction or amusement that you have inside of Dreamland, and its name was Lilliputian. And Lilliputian was incredibly a whole town, like a little village, set up inside of the Dreamland Park, and it was based on a concept of a 15th century German town or city, but like a city, but a small one. And it was fully decked out with staff who went through their daily life, right, being like and that's where it comes from. Thank you, Anna Maria. Lilliputian comes from Gulliver's Travels. And what was the thing about the people of Lilliputian? What was so strange for Gulliver when he shows up is that compared to them, he's a giant, right? And that was the thing. In Lilliputian in Dreamland, the 300 staff that worked there were all midgets. All of them. They had a midget parliament. They had a midget king and queen. They had a fireman's team of midgets. And the entire thing was for you to go and watch these midgets just exist and live and interact with each other and go to the midget bakery and eat a small piece of bread. And that was a big part of the attraction of Dreamland. And the other big part of the attraction of Dreamland, which was really interesting, was that they would set a building on fire. They had like a construction, a 6-story building. And the name of it, I think, was called Fight the Fire. Hold on a second, let me check. Fighting Flames. Fighting Flames was the name of the attraction. And every day, for your viewing pleasure, you, the audience, your entertainment, they would set fire to this structure, and there would be people inside. And then they would have firemen crews run in and save the people and extinguish the fire. Go figure. Dreamland burned down. It didn't work out. Right? It's nuts. It's crazy. But of course it burned down, along with Steeplechase, and it wasn't connected to that fire, but there was absolutely a fire. And apparently, and this was noted in the historical records, the Lilliputian firemen's team jumped in and tried to assist the New York Fire Department as they tried to put out the flames. Unfortunately, their hoses were too short; they couldn't reach them. That's not true. That's a joke. That's not true. That's not what happened. But they did try to help. So, Tage, welcome, brother. Welcome. Oh, you're great. No worries, man. You join whenever you join. You're always welcome here. Now, I didn't tell you guys the story of what happened on July 13th, 1977, and it's worth just quickly mentioning because no one guessed it. Michelle, I was hoping that you would remember, of all people, or someone would Google it. The Wonder Wheel stopped because it was the New York City blackout, and the whole city lost power. But luckily, because there's a hand crank at the Wonder Wheel as well, they were able to evacuate the Wonder Wheel. Even though it couldn't electrically power itself, they were able to get everybody off the Wonder Wheel anyway. Well, guys, we've barely scratched the surface of Coney Island today, and that's and we're still an hour in almost right now. So I feel like I shouldn't keep it longer than an hour. Or the folks that come back and watch it on YouTube later on are like, this is just too long a video for me to even bother watching. It's too big. And it's And it's amazing how much Russian you hear here. And it makes sense. There's a massive Russian community at Brighton Beach. So the point is, there's a lot more to see. I feel like we have to come back and do a Coney Island take 2 and dig into some of the intrigue and the freaks. And the Mermaid Parade. We didn't even talk about the Mermaid Parade, you know. And I was so excited about all of this. I haven't been showing you guys a lot of pictures. Here, let me give you some Mermaid Parade pictures. Oop. Okay, we got these mermaids here. Let's get some more mermaids out. Can I do 2 pictures at the same time? Let's see. Oh, this woman here. She looks like Ursula to me. There's definitely an Ursula thing going on there, right? Oh, unfortunate soul, so sad, so true. If you want to cross a bridge, my dear, you have to pay the toll. Flaxem Jackson, now I've got her, boys. The boss is on a roll, right? Something like that. And this is something that happens every August. Let's see. Oh. And Maria, do they say Merry Christmas in July there too? Oh no, I don't know. That's interesting. I haven't heard that. I'm just too busy trying to figure out mermaids for you guys. July makes me think actually of Nathan's. And they say the secret to a good tour guide is that if you can't answer the question, you want to answer another question. Michelle asked, when was the Mermaid Parade? It's in June. I'm not exactly sure when. Sorry about that. I gotta, not 100%. Oh, Jeanette, welcome! Oh no, Jeanette, you're working. Come on, you know, of course you shouldn't be watching this thing right now. So thank you. Please watch it later on. I'll watch it with you. You know, we'll do a playback together. I can do a live broadcast over myself, being like, that's not true what I said. I can't believe I said that. I left something out. What I left out before about Nathan's, and it's worth just mentioning really quick, is of course the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And Maria asks, do they say Merry Christmas in July? Again, sorry Maria, I don't know. But something relevant about July and the location that we're in right now is it was actually July 4th of 1916 that the first Nathan's hot dog eating contest was sort of born. And today, of course, it's like, the big event every year for us to watch people eating hot dogs. I think the guy's name was like Jimmy Chestnuts, something crazy like that, who won this year in 2021, eating, I think it was around 75 or 76 hot dogs within just 10 minutes. The second place finisher only got to 50 hot dogs. And Jimmy Chestnuts, again, I don't think that's his name, but it sounds a lot like that. His trick was he takes the bun in the hot dog, dips it in water, right? And then in 3 bites, home, and gets the thing down. And in 10 minutes, 76 of them. Buns, hot dogs, the whole thing. What do they win, Anna Maria asks. I think it's money, actually. I think they get a trophy, bragging rights, and the whole thing, but they also get a crap load of cash for it. Not quite as much as a gold Olympic medal, I think, but you get something for sure. I'd have to go back and take a peekaboo. But how does the event get started? Actually, it was just fortuitous for our good old friend Nathan Handwerker, German immigrant himself, because Nathan, he saw some other immigrants that were there ordering a bunch of hot dogs, 5 cents a piece, why not, right? And he says, what are you guys doing? He's like, we're settling a bet, between us. So we figured we'd come down and just see who could eat the most hot dogs. And he was like, I really like that idea. So it actually is conceived of, the inception of it is in the first year that Nathan's opened. So you can say the hot dog eating contest is as old as Nathan's hot dog stand itself, if you will. Let's see, what do they win hot dog? Yeah. Tage, will you be eating there today, or did you eat already? I haven't yet eaten. I am starving, in fact, and I'm going to hang up with you guys shortly. and go eat because I really am hungry. But I don't eat hot dogs. Blessed be the hot dogs and the buns and the mustard and all the rest of it. And I'm very happy for anyone who does eat them, but not this fella. Hot dogs are not on my training plan. Guys, honestly, they're phosphate sticks. And if you're gonna eat a sausage, eat a sausage. Hot dog is not a sausage, it's something different. And that's what I would recommend. I'm gonna go probably hunt down a pizza place that's around here. Tonoto's, I think is what it's called. Famous pizza. I'm gonna go and try a little bit about that. I don't think pizza should really be on my workout agenda, like plan food either, but it's what's happening. So, okay, well guys, thank you for the late joiners, Jeanette, Tage. Glad to have you guys pop on at the end. And Alexa and Maria, Jim, Hale, Bar, who have I missed out here, guys? Sorry, Ross and Nikki. Just going through Eric over in Hawaii. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. Jill, if you're still with us right now, guys, thank you so much. Caro, who I, welcome, amazing. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming and joining me out here today. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna go and do a little bit more exploring. Tage writes, Lorraine writes, go on a ride. Tage writes, very strict show your vax law for indoor businesses. It's good in NYC. Yep, it's true. It's just come into place. To go into the gym now, I have to show them that I am vaxxed for sure. Caro, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining me on the walk. Hey, I'll be back tomorrow because tomorrow, guys, we're going to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden together, and we're going to be there tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. So 7 p.m. in the UK, 8 p.m. in Europe, 11 a.m. on the West Coast. It's all coming true. It's all happening. So Tage, that's when tomorrow, 2 p.m. And then we'll be on at 2 p.m. New York time again on Saturday and on Sunday. So we're managing to pull off a regular schedule right now. But I tell you guys want to know how this works? Hang up with you guys now. I'll go eat something, and I'm going to start studying for tomorrow. Then I'll study nonstop until tomorrow. Go eat something after the live stream, and then start studying for Saturday. So it's a lot of knowledge to cram in a short period of time. Don't feel sorry for me. I do it to myself. So no complaints whatsoever. No complaints whatsoever. See you later, Alexa. Goodbye, Lorraine. Jeanette, I'm sending you flowers and hearts. And what is that little? Is that a? My glasses are so foggy. Oh, it's a little tree. God, these things are gross. I gotta get some new glasses. I actually can see my screen a lot better. Holy cow, guys! I've got a scary thing to admit, which was that recently I was trying to look at my screen with my contacts on, and I had to move my phone away from my face so I could see the words on it. I think my vision is getting worse. Is that possible? Is that how it starts? All of a sudden, you can't see things that are close to you, so you gotta move it away. Yeah, it's real. It's real stuff. Thank you for the heart, Jenny Jean. Oh, Jenny, I didn't say thanks to you before as well. You're one of the most committed people out there, and I really appreciate you. Yeah. And Brian, Ross, yes. Yeah, I have to follow up with Nikki, very formally push that forward. I've checked, and I can get, if you guys want, if you want to, yes. So let me talk to you after this. Stop studying for a second and reach out. But heck yeah, September in Scotland. It's the old thing. I don't know if we talked about that, the Sandeman Scotland connection. And that's where we, the old Danish Sandeman. So we were like traders. We were like a clan of Scottish traders, and we bought into the Danes occupying the north of Great Britain, helped them. But you know what? It was like 1,400 years ago. So it's a bit of time since it happened. It's not so, can't hold us to blame anymore. Can't hold me personally to blame for that sort of stuff. Michelle, see you tomorrow. And Tage, yeah, maybe see each other in real life, of course. Jeanette asks, what part of Scotland are you connected to? We are Perthians. We are from Perth and Dundee to some extent. But if you go to the old library of in Perth was the Sandeman Memorial Library, and there's still a big plaque in there to some of the ancestors who donated to the library. But like any good Scottish library, it's a pub now, right? So the Sandeman, I think, is what they call it if you want to Google it in Perth. But still tons of Sandemans up in Scotland. One of my ancestors invented a religion up there, Sandemanianism, which was not so up leaving. Wow, that kid's got some pipes. All more of that to come, and we will continue tomorrow. I've got to get some food, and I'm just going to leave you with this relaxing view here as you look out onto this beautiful beach, this pristine waters, not quite pristine, but pretty pristine waters. There's a lifeguard there. That was something that when of New York City, that they added actually lifeguards, and guess what? A lot less people drowned all of a sudden. So it was a really good addition to stuff. And it's not a crazy busy day, not like it would have been back in the day, if you can imagine this being the beach that you arrived to back in the early 1900s. Let's say 1910s, 1920s. That's when you'd really have gotten the crowds, once the subways are really able to transport the masses here. So not nearly that busy and wild today. So, and Maria, you can see there the pier in the distance, and hence why, even though the boardwalk is open, you can't get into the boardwalk, or you can't get under the boardwalk, right? You got to stay above the boardwalk. Oh, when the sun beats down and burns the tar up on the roof, and your shoes, tired feet were fireproof, under the boardwalk, down by the sea, yeah, on a blanket with my baby is where I'll be. That's not right at all. Out of the sun, under the boardwalk, we'll be having some fun under the boardwalk. People walking above under the boardwalk. We'll be falling in love under the boardwalk. Boardwalk. Yeah. All right, final goodbyes. Mwah. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow. Same time, different place.